Cue the music. The story of how the rating descriptions came to be dates back to the fall of 1980. The Classification and Rating Administration decided to conduct an experiment in the heart of America, Kansas, and Missouri. Descriptions were added to rated R films like violence, sensuality, or language, with PG getting the same descriptors, but with additional qualifiers like minor and some. Kara publicized these changes in advertising to local exhibitors, and then interviewed parents who had children between the ages of 5 and 17. After the study had gone on for nearly 2 years, Motion Picture Association of America President Jack Valenti put an end to it in early 1982. If you recall episode 1, Jack Valenti had penned the rating system himself and was strict about changes. As a lobbyist for the consumability of Hollywood media, he was worried that additional language could be detrimental to a film's financial earnings and act as a deterrent for parents. He had been arguing since 1970 that no language could accurately describe the level of content, and that adding descriptions and qualifiers would only confuse the public. Hefner privately thought this was a diversionary tactic, and that Jack Valenti wanted to turn him into a, quote, intellectual eunuch. He completely disagreed with Valenti about audience attendance being affected by descriptions. Surveys from the Midwest study had shown that parents can't control what their children see, and they thought that theaters were very unlikely to heavily enforce the restrictive ratings.
What do you mean, no?
Terrence and Phillip Ashes of Fire has been rated R by the Motion Picture Association of America. You have to be accompanied by a parent or guardian.
But why?
Because this movie has naughty language.
However, parents did want descriptive language for its ability to give accurate advice to their children about a film's content. Hefner strongly believed that the rating system would have to undergo significant changes in order to keep up with the times. Flash forward to the summer of 1990. The MPAA was under some serious heat. Although the creation of the PG-13 had alleviated some pressure, their lack of transparency about the rating process and what exactly the line was separating a family-friendly rating from a more restrictive one had backed them into a corner. During the 1980s, the X rating had been all but extinguished, as studios had written in closets for the directors to deliver R-rated films. Pornography had also left theaters as a result of political campaigning, only to find a place on home video. Hardly anyone was receiving an X rating outside of the horror genre, but in that year alone, everyone from Paul Verhoeven and Rennie Harlin to Martin Scorsese and David Lynch got an X.
No one under 17 admitted.
The MPAA was slapped with 3 consecutive lawsuits, and although these were largely dismissed, it was the ruling from New York Supreme Court Judge Ramos which finally got the kill shot. In a scathing 15-page statement where he completely bodied Jack Valenti, he urged him to either change the system or abandon it. A few days later, the Silverlight petition would reach the MPAA, signed by more than 50 directors from Spike Lee to Wes Craven. It had run in The Hollywood Reporter and Daily Variety, demanding changes in the rating system. Within a week, Valenti was meeting with industry professionals, and that September, there were 2 major announcements. The X rating would be no more, and in its place was the NC-17. Additionally, rated R films would now receive descriptive language. Within a year, this would obviously change, and now every film from a PG to an NC-17 has some form of description. According to Kara, the descriptions are unique to each movie and are decided by the raters the moment after a movie is screened in order to capture their immediate impressions of elements in the film at that specific rating level. Descriptors fall into a handful of major categories: violence, sexuality, language, drug use, and thematic elements. That final category includes factors which are not easily covered, such as accidents, death, incest, abortion, alcoholism, illness, family discord, or coming-of-age issues. However, it's important to note that there is no finite list, and changes in film trends affect the system. For example, The rise in comic book films created the use of the commonly seen sci-fi action. Some of the earliest descriptions are laughable, and you can tell they hadn't quite figured out how to describe things, such as Meridian, rated R for scenes of sensuality and sex-related nudity; Lionheart, rated R for graphically violent fight scenes and for strong language; or The Comfort of Strangers, rated R for obsessive and perverse sexuality. And Jack Valenti thought this would hurt sales? Against his wishes, Valenti had finally created the defining feature of the ratings box. To this day, it takes up more than half. It even became part of their entire ad campaigns. From that point on, the system was transformed from a series of letters to a veritable seal of quality regarding the level of content. It became an unstated rule that the longer the description, the more depravity packed into the tiny box, the better. A nation of perverts bought films en masse at the words nudity and graphic violence, guarantees to the average consumer of getting their money's worth. I looked through more than 30,000 rating descriptions, and these are the absolute best, separated into 4 categories. Our first category is animals, those cute and cuddly creatures we call our companions, but sometimes it can go wrong. Take, for instance, 1993's Man's Best Friend, rated R for terror and violence involving a household pet.
Man's Best Friend.
What, a little too on the nose for you? How about Shark? PG-13 for shark-related violence. Hey, how's it going? I'm shark-related. Who could forget Tim Burton's adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, rated PG for fantasy action violence involving scary images and situations, and
Who are you?
There's also the time the board hired Indiana Jones to rate Rattled PG-13 for terrifying snake attacks.
I hate snakes, Chuck! I hate them!
Children everywhere can be delighted that Teenage Space Vampires is rated PG for mild alien vampire violence. Look, Mom, the alien vampire violence was mild at best, okay?
Teenage Space Vampires.
Now I can sense some of y'all are unimpressed with all this fancy language. The common clay often calls out for the old ways. Come home to tradition. The tradition I speak of is traditional Godzilla violence. What, that doesn't interest you? How about Bats? Rated R for some graphic bloody bat attacks. Just some, a couple, just a few.
Bats can be anywhere in a 100-mile radius.
We got a bunch of rabid bats on the loose.
We got a problem.
The Island of Dr. Moreau is PG-13 for sci-fi violence, horror, and gore involving mutant creatures.
Look at these people! Look at him!
And last, but certainly not least, is the 1994 film Tammy and the T-Rex, PG-13 for comic monster violence and sex-related scenes.
Party animal.
A new version was released from Vinegar Syndrome, which revealed that there was far more of both of those things than we could have ever imagined.
Stupidest idea I've ever heard.
Violence. It's a tradition that dates back to the dawn of man. There's all sorts of ways that we've used to describe it. Terrorist violence, gangster violence, combat violence, sci-fi violence. But nothing in the world can prepare you for the Civil War film Ghost Brigade.
Ghost Brigade.
Rated R for satanic war violence.
The unstoppable. The undead.
Firing everything we had, but they just kept on coming.
Parents across the nation had to prepare their families for Rodeo Bloopers 2, PG for rodeo violence.
Well, you may have thought you've seen it all, Kick back and enjoy some of this action.
Equally controversial is The Wind in the Willows, PG for fanciful villainy and gunplay. Or should I say, fanciful villainy and gunplay! Peter Jackson's landmark horror film Dead Alive is rated R for an abundance of outrageous gore.
Party's over.
If you've seen the film, this is actually such an accurate description that it's amazing that there even is an R-rated version. Brian Yuzna's dentist films are both rated R for graphic violence, including scenes of dental torture, sexuality, and some language.
Open wide.
Batman Returns is rated PG-13 for brooding, dark violence.
He's got some hair. I'll murder you momentarily.
Okay, maybe that's too much and you want something for the kids. Three Ninjas Knuckle Up is PG-13 for non-stop ninja action. My personal favorite has to be The Skateboard Kid 2, PG for brief mild language and an adolescent punch in the nose.
That's it, Squires. I've had enough of you.
Oh yeah? What are you gonna do about it?
But I've saved the best for last. Deadly Target is rated R for language and non-stop martial arts and gangster violence.
Terrorism. Just when LA thought it had seen it all, Hong Kong super cop Charlie Prince blows into town.
Before I move on, I just want to point out that sometimes the system can be extraordinarily vague, such as 1993's Remains of the Day, which is rated PG for, of all things, themes. Now what kind of themes? I don't know. Who cares? Just themes. They're in there.
No offense intended, of course.
Or how about that extremely forgettable 1994 film North, starring Elijah Wood? You know, the one that famously spawned the Roger Ebert review.
I hated this movie. Hated this movie. Hated it. Hated every simpering, stupid, vacant, audience-insulting moment of it.
Yeah, so what kind of description do you think that film would get? How about PG for a few words? Personally, I like to think that the people were just as bored as Roger Ebert and they hated the movie so much that at the end of it, they were just like,
It don't matter. None of this matters.
The most recent entry on this list is 2015's 50 Shades of Grey, which is rated R for strong sexual content, including dialogue, some unusual behavior, graphic nudity, and for language. Unusual behavior. Yes, to say the least.
Enlighten me then.
And of course, there's Troma's Class of Nukem High 2, rated R for scenes of nudity and sexuality, and for comic horror violence and grossness. Now, grossness can accurately be applied to most of Troma's career, but let's be honest, I need a little more information than that. Which is why we have our next category, the oddly specific. The 90s were filled with all sorts of descriptions for different types of humor. You've got ribald, macabre, off-color, but all of them balk at the 1994 film It's Pat, PG-13 for bizarre, gender-related humor.
Oh, I crushed my nuts!
Ooh, that's gonna hurt.
Oh, shoot! There goes my afternoon snack!
Or the 1997 John Leguizamo comedy, The Pest, PG-13 for crude, sexual, scatological, and ethnic humor.
Nice lady, I'm hiding, I'm sexy, but I'm hiding. All right already.
Shout out to Indian Looney. For the Moment is PG-13 for sexual situations, language, and a poignant death.
Pull out, Scotty!
Poignant. Lorenzo's Oil is PG-13 for a child's life-threatening ordeal. 1993's Last Light is rated R for intense depiction of life on death row. And now I really just want more films that feature the description, intense depiction.
Judge made an example of you, sentenced you to an adult maximum security prison, where you killed your cellmate at 17. That's right. Life sentence. Life.
Luckily, we don't have to wait long. Volcano is rated R for intense depiction of urban disaster and related injuries.
In a city where anything can happen. On April 25th, it will.
But some films are just too intense, such as the 1992 plane crash film Alive, rated R for crash scenes, too intense for unaccompanied children. But that's fine, we've got plenty of things for the children, such as the 1997 adaptation Indian in the Cupboard, rated PG for mild language and brief video images of violence and sexy dancing. It's for the Motley Crue music video Girls, Girls, Girls playing in the background, but it's so funny that they even gave a shit. Just imagine them sitting there and justifying it, like, well, the parents, they need to know. Right around the same time, they gave the adaptation of Matilda a PG for elements of exaggerated meanness and ridicule and for some mild language.
You will not leave this platform until you have consumed the entire confection!
I also think it's kind of cool that the musical adaptation that came out last year has nearly the exact same description all these years later. But my personal favorite growing up is 1997's Bushwhacked, rated PG for language and a mild birds and bees discussion. Here you go, heathens.
Let me borrow your dollies, honey. There was a man dolly, and there was a lady dolly. And they fell in love. Work it, baby! Work it! Oh, that's good! Oh, that's it! Oh, right there! Oh, that's good! oh, that's it! Oh, yeah! Oh, that's how Daddy likes it! Everybody start your engines! Ooga!
This final category is composed of films that I consider have S-tier descriptions. They cannot possibly get any better than these. I mean, Congo is PG-13 for jungle adventure, terror and action, and brief, strong language. Everything I just said should make you want to see this film right now.
See, they're smart. They're too damn smart.
A film you probably won't be dying to see is the Merchant Ivory adaptation of the Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings story, Jefferson in Paris, rated PG-13 for mature theme, some images of violence, and a body puppet show.
The Queen is depicted with the appetites of an SME, or sadly, for engaged in incestuous monstrosities with Count D'Arc, the King's debauched brother.
But on the subject of puppet sex, you have 2004's Team America World Police, rated R for graphic, crude, and sexual humor, violent images, and strong language, all involving puppets. Of any description that needs to be brought back, it's all involving puppets.
Let's make this interesting.
Calling back to intensity descriptions from earlier, 1997's Twister is PG-13 for intense depiction of very bad weather. The sequel film was recently announced, and I really hope that what they do is intense depiction of even worse weather. I know this isn't going to happen though. They lost their sense of humor a long time ago. How else do you explain the loss of such gems as Mother's Boys?
Things are about to change.
Rated R for language and a mother's sociopathic behavior.
And this divorce
Sizing up the competition.
There's no competition.
is going to be a nightmare.
I want to come home, and she won't let me.
Pairs really well with The Good Son. Rated R for acts of violence and terror involving a disturbed child.
I let you go. You think you could fly?
Grumpier Old Men is PG-13 for salty language and innuendos.
Italian girl. What do you say we go back to my place? I'll show you my cannelloni. Huh?
The People's Pervert John Waters is a cinematic legend, and his 1972 film Pink Flamingos is a large reason why, featuring everything from all the way to It's pretty easy to see why this film is rated NC-17 for a wide range of perversions and explicit detail.
Kill everyone now. Condone first-degree murder. Advocate cannibalism. Eat shit. Filth are my politics. Filth is my life.
On Full Moon Freak Show, John Waters actually shared a really great story about this.
I got my revenge on him. Because when Pink Flamingos finally came out as the 25th anniversary, we had to get a rating to play in the theaters. We said, you don't have to watch it. We know it's NC-17. They said, no, we have to watch it. Good. They had to sit there and suffer through that. And you should read their reading where I got an NC-17. It says, because of this and this and this and this and this. That helped.
They must really love the word intensity. We got a great gem, such as Bitter Moon's intense depiction of a perverse sexual relationship.
He's a sick man. He imagines things.
Or the adaptation of The Crucible, which is PG-13 for intense depiction of the Salem witch trials. And they're being pretty honest. I mean, check out this trailer.
I saw Bridget Bishop with the devil. I saw Viola with the devil.
Now, I've read through a lot of descriptions, and to be fair, everyone on this list is about as good as it gets. But this one, I think it just edges all of the other ones out. 1994's Trigger Fast. Rated R for graphic Western shootings and brothel nudity.
I'm already wired, Dusty. Expect trouble.
Let's be real. How does a film with a shining endorsement like that not end up on everybody's top 10 list?
Getting away with murder.
What the hell?
Is easy.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and share it with others. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the previous 2 episodes and look out for my upcoming episode on the complete history of the PG-13. I'll be joined by a very special guest, so trust me, you're going to want to see this. You can also follow me on social media, the only Saavedro anywhere.
Then, the man has a cigarette, watches a little Leno, and goes to sleep. Any questions?